Warmly welcoming you to How Does She Do It, the podcast, with me, your host, Jo Ferroni. Join me on my journey as I explore finding a gentle balance in both business and life, because being kind to ourselves is our superpower. Hello, my love. I hope this episode finds you happy, healthy, and practicing self-kindness. Today, I offer my very last episode of 2021, and it's episode 21, no less. How perfect is that? I want to take this opportunity to pause for a moment and to thank you, my listener, for so kindly choosing to tune in to me and my incredible guests this year. To think that the podcast is now 9 months old feels quite the achievement as it is, but to receive the glowing and heartfelt feedback that I do is icing on the cake. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and please do take a moment over this holiday season to leave me a review if you listen on Apple Podcasts. It would mean the world. My wonderful guest is Catherine Rannus, who has a very special connection to the How Does She Do It podcast, but you'll need to listen on to find out just what that connection is. It's super cool, and I love that we have been able to share it here. So let me tell you a little more. Catherine provides delightful music tuned to the Fibonacci sequence for business and for well-being too. The frequencies found in delightful music resonate on a subconscious level to raise your vibration and attract to you your best life. What is not to love? As well as writing music, Catherine is an accomplished musician who performs at so many types of gigs and special occasions. Her musical talents are endless. We discuss so much in this fascinating conversation, and I adore discovering how Catherine's business was created and all that came before it too. An early subscriber to the power of positivity and manifestation too, Catherine will inspire you to really think about what you really desire in your life and how to go about getting it. Enjoy the show. Catherine, welcome to the podcast. It is such a lovely start to my day, but also to my week. We're recording this on a Monday morning. Thank you so much for coming.
It's my pleasure. It's a great start to the week. You're right.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting today. I am very much looking forward to it because we are going to be covering some slightly different things, I think, from what I've previously covered in earlier episodes of the podcast so far. And there's going to be very much a creative edge to today's conversation as well. And we're also going to cover a few things that we've worked on together, which I think is going to be really exciting. But first of all, I think it'd be really useful if you could tell us a little bit about why you started working for yourself and when it happened. Was it always part of the plan? Because I think that possibly you're in a slightly different position from many of us because you've been working for yourself for a little bit longer than certainly I have. So yeah, tell us a little bit about how it came about.
Oh my goodness. Well, to be honest, I've only ever always worked for myself, which is I've never had a proper job. That's one way to look at it. Well, I did actually. When I first graduated, I was a peripatetic woodwind teacher. So I went around the schools. There was a lot of paperwork and admin involved in that because I was working for someone else. They needed to see plans and all sorts of other things, which I personally thought was ridiculous because I'm teaching groups of children who progress at different times. Just a lot of things and a lot of meetings, really unnecessary meetings just about other meetings, just ridiculous waste of time. And because I've always been like efficient and disciplined and I use my time really wisely, I'm very structured in my days. I still am, and I always was. And I just thought there's a lot of wasted time and energy here. There's a lot of wasted energy more than anything. Yeah. So I did that for the year. When I just graduated, that was what I did because the only other musicians I knew in the world were my teachers. So I thought if I want to be a musician, this is what I would do. And I hated it. I mean, I hated all that side of it, but even the actual teaching, I hated that as well because I was going into schools. I mean, I was 21, literally fresh out of, I've just done my degree. I looked about 12 and I think that's why the music service put me in mainly primary schools because the kids at secondary school looked older than me anyway.
That would have been tricky, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I'm small as well. So I was, they were probably all taller than me at high school. And the primary schools, they were just awful. They were just awful. There was no real nice room to teach in it. We were just like in an area with a photocopier in, where the teachers just came in and spoke really loudly over my lesson. There were just like a billion things that rung alarm bells, and thought, this is not what I'm here to do. This is not working out. So I finished out the year and that was it. And then I put some goals in place and manifested a hotel in the village with a piano in the lobby. I swear I manifested this hotel.
Wow, manifestation in your early 20s. Tell me more.
Well, when I was a student, I was in a band and we travelled all over, like ridiculous gigs from up north, down south the following day for really rubbish money, to be honest. And I decided I didn't want to be in a band. I didn't want to travel far. I didn't like the traveling side of it. And I didn't like setting up of the gig. So the actual gig was great. The traveling to the gig and the setting up of all the equipment. I mean, this was 20 plus years ago. This was 25 years ago. So like, we didn't have LED lights. We had massive cans for just a light. The lighting rig alone was, just a 3-man job, just putting that up for half an hour. So yeah. I knew what I didn't want. I'd read a book that said you shouldn't focus on what you don't want. So I set some goals and I thought, well, if I don't want that, what do I want? Well, I want to not travel more than 20 minutes to a gig. The more local, the better. I just want to set up my own stuff, so my own piano, and just do solo. I don't even want to work with other people. Just want to work by myself with my own gear. I can set it all up. I know what I'm doing. That's what I want, and I want it to be local. And then I set that goal while I was still at college, I think, in a band. And then I did this year of peripatetic teaching. And at the end of that year, it was the Brooklands hotel, now it's called the Holiday Inn, that was being built. And it was literally it was a demolition site, and there was a big sign at the front saying inquiries about Brooklands Hotel and with this number. So I rung this number. I said, I'm a musician, I play piano, I would love to play in this hotel. And they planned this lobby, there was a grand piano going in, and I was there on opening night, and I'm still there now.
Oh my goodness. How kind of them to build that hotel for you. I mean, that's big stuff.
Big stuff.
Wow. Okay. Now I'm just going to pause you for a minute. I didn't know that. I know that you've been a musician all of your career. I think that's really interesting what you said about working in schools, because you've taken me back to my flute lessons, and we were shoved in a corner of the library in my junior school. And luckily there weren't photocopiers and there weren't people buzzing in and out. But I can imagine that as a person in that role, you just had to go where you were put. And I've seen it at other schools, they're almost shut in a sort of stock cupboard somewhere.
Yeah.
Not very inspiring, I shouldn't think, or creative for the children, or of course the teacher. So I think that's really interesting. And I just can't get over the fact that you were so in tune at such a young age to really think about, or work out, I guess, what you didn't want. That's massive for me. And I think that's something I've only really learned about in the last decade, I guess, not focusing on the things we don't want, but really getting clear on what it is that we do. So yeah, I just feel like you were so far ahead of the rest of us.
Well, yes, and I agree. Most people don't come across this sort of stuff until much later in life. So I feel really blessed that I set out all this stuff like in my late teens, really. I mean, that probably came from, well, I suppose most people find it when they're at rock bottom, don't they? Because you look for something. And, I'd got this broken heart and I moved away from home to college. So I live in Barnsley. I was at Leeds Music College, which is like half an hour down the road. I was hopelessly homesick. Awful time. I started on a classical degree, and then I realised I didn't want to be a concert pianist. nothing we were learning was inspiring to me. There was not much creativity on that course. But then at the time, I didn't think I was a creative person anyway. I thought I was, I can read music and play what's on the music. And that's the sort of musician I was at that time. So I was in a terrible, terrible, terrible time. And I was crying in the leader's office. What do you call not the leader, not the headmaster, the college.
Yeah, like the principal's office.
Principal, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, saying, I don't like the course, don't like the people on the course, don't like where I'm living. This is all not working. I need to leave. And he said, oh, please don't leave. We'll lose all of your funding. Please try the jazz course. Don't like jazz. Can't improvise. Can't read from chords. I'm going to be hopeless on the jazz course. And he said, well, just try it for a week and see what you think. So I did. So I went from a course that was mainly female. There were like a couple of boys on that course, to the jazz course, there were a couple of girls and all the rest were boys. I thought, I'm just not going to get on here. I've got no friends. This is just awful. And do you know what? I stuck it out, and I don't know what made me stick it out because I was really miserable. But I think I knew what I was learning was the key to be the sort of player that I wanted to be. And it was really hard because I'd only ever played classical. And I had to learn a whole new style of playing, jazz improvisation is just jazz harmony. It just blew my mind.
Yeah.
But the other players, the other people on the course, I heard them play and I thought, well, I want to play like that. So I'd better pull my finger out and do it. And I did. And I moved back home. So that got rid of the homesick side. So at least I made a change for something positive that I was struggling with. I still had this terrible broken heart that took like nearly a year to get over. That was just hideously miserable. And I stuck it out and I graduated and I did it and learnt all sorts of things that I hated jazz still when I graduated. But then after I'd graduated, I joined a little jazz trio and I started enjoying jazz and really getting my head around the jazz harmony and improvisation. And without that, I would not be the musician I am today with the heart. Even though the music I'm composing is not necessarily jazz, jazz harmony is like the bee's knees of harmony. And I use that all the time. And improvisation, that creativity, that's a compositional style as well. Yeah. So I'm really glad I stuck that out.
That's amazing. It sounds as though you built yourself, possibly unknowingly, a really firm foundation in music because you were challenged in so many ways. There were things that didn't work for you. And I heard you when you talked about the classical course you were on. It reminded me a little bit of when I moved to A-level music from GCSE. It felt so much more rigid, and there wasn't really, for me, the ability to create and to flourish, actually. And so I really hear you there. But I just think it's fascinating that you stuck it out and you were really up against quite a few challenges at that time. And then you found yourself.
Yeah, well, I found a book. My dad gave me a book, actually, because I was probably depressed at the time. We didn't ban that word around a lot, really, 20 years ago. No. And we're not a huggy-feely type of family. I don't think my dad knew what to do with me at all. But he just said, just try reading this. It was called The Midas Method by Stuart Goldsmith. And it was like a business type of book. And this was the book that I read that said you should focus on what you do want, and it had a goal-setting thing. And it was so clear that I think it broke it down into quarters. So 25% of achieving your goal, 25% is knowing what that goal is. And it broke it down further. And the book said, just do it. Don't just read this book. Actually write these things down. And I thought, I'll do it. And that book is what led me to focusing on what I did want and really encompassing what it was that I wanted out of my life. And I think most people, like you said, have that when they're much more mature and, they've spent a lot of time doing something they really don't like. In the scheme of things, I didn't really spend a lot of time doing what I didn't want in the grand scheme of things. I didn't feel like that at the time.
No.
But it was a really young age to take this on.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I really do take my hat off to you because you were recognizing things, I think, as a person in their young 20s, early 20s, that it was like you had a really mature head on your shoulders, even though you were struggling. And also something I wanted to just pick up on there, what you said near the beginning about being a very organized person. You're very organized, you're very structured, you're very good at, I believe, setting a goal and making it happen. And that isn't necessarily always the case of creative people. And so I think you've got a really amazing blend there of two very almost opposing qualities, but bringing them together obviously sends it all a bit supersonic. So I really recognize that in you. You are so on it, and I do look up to that. So obviously, based on what you said, there have been lots of gigs. You've obviously been through the tough days where, you know, the amount of setting up, traveling, packing down again is probably 3, 4, 5 times longer than the actual beautiful bit where you actually gig in the middle, the bit that you want to do. Where are you at now? Could you explain a little bit more about Delightful Music and how your business looks?
Yeah, sure. So I am still gigging. I do a lot of solo gigs, which is exactly what I want. I've even got it down further where I do a lot of gigs where I don't have to set anything up. I just plug my microphone into a DJ system and play sax along with the DJ. And that's just glorious. It's just the perfect gig.
Wow.
So a bit of background for Delightful Music. It started out in 2011 as healing and relaxation music. So I was into the mind and the positive thinking stuff because of this Midas Method book. And then I listened to a lot of cassette series on my drive to Leeds because I moved home and I was driving to Leeds every day.
Yeah.
My dad also, for his business, had a lot of tape series which are all about positive thinking and how to get on in the business world. So I just started devouring them, and my half-hour commute in the car, I was just feeding my brain all this positivity and different techniques to make yourself feel good. And then, so the mind and then the body connection just went hand in hand. And when I stumbled upon Reiki, I just thought that's got the same principles. It's just exactly the same. And this mind-body connection is even more powerful than just the mind.
Yeah.
So I did my training in Reiki, did up to Reiki Master, and stumbled upon all this research about your chakras, and each one has a tonality and a frequency and a bija mantra and a colour and all sorts of other things, and just carried on both quite separate journeys. So I'm a musician. I've got my gigs at Holiday Inn. I was their resident pianist. I played there midweek, and I'd got other gigs. So I'm definitely a musician. But I'd got this in the background, this passion for mind-body stuff, doing Reiki, which led on to a crystal diploma, crystal healing stuff, and all sorts of other qualifications in that field. And it took 10 years, really, until 2011, for me to put that together and go, right, I'm making music which encompasses all of this information that I've got. And the first album was born, Pure Chakra. And then the people that was on the course with, they heard it and they was like, oh, can I get a copy of that? And then I had to come up with a name. I had to package it all, which is not me. I just wanted to make the music, man. So, and then the website came because they wanted to then buy it as gifts for other people. So I named it Delightful Music, got the webpage and did a whole lot of stuff, which wasn't my passion, but I could see that it had a market. And then the next album came along, and now I've got 5 albums sitting on the webpage, and carried that on until lockdown, really. And then at the start of lockdown, I obviously had no gigs, and I was absolutely inspired to create this sort of new type of music. And I thought, who is this music for? The yoga people who use Delightful Music and all the holistic therapists, this is not for them. They're not going to buy into this. This is a whole different sound. It was quite dramatic for me. And I just kept recording. I just got all these ideas, and I just kept coming into the studio, just hiding from the kids because the homeschooling thing were a bit much.
This sounds like good therapy.
Yeah, it was my escape. and just creating this new sound. And then one of my videographer friends, I was doing a lot of networking as well over lockdown on Zoom. So I've been networking all over the world, which really opened up some doors. And this videographer guy said, I've done this video for the NHS, the clap for the Thursday night thing. So every Thursday I'm going to put this thing up with lighting up buildings and doing these videos. He said, this music would be perfect. And I saw his videos. I said, yes, it would. Put it on. It's like, it's got the drama. It's got the sort of the seriousness of the situation and all this feeling at the beginning of lockdown. We didn't know what was happening. The whole world was as we'd never seen it before. It was harrowing. It was, in a really different place. So, and then one thing led to another, and that got used for those videos. And through the networking, people said, oh, you're a musician. Can you do as a podcast theme? Oh, I've never done a podcast theme before. That sounds like fun. Let's do that. Now I'm loving, I'd never heard of audio branding, I'll be honest. But audio branding is a term that encompasses like music for behind your videos, little audio idents for your logos. Maybe you've got an animated logo, even call waiting, people have used it for. And once you've got your brand sound, we can edit your music to be all of those things. So you've got a version that you use as background music on your video. You've got a version that's got maybe a top line on it that you can use as proper music that you're not speaking over or anything like that. You can use it for a podcast theme, your call waiting, and just everything that you need audio for, whatever you're putting out on social media, on all of your marketing. A brilliant marketing tool is audio branding. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I've got so much I need to, I'm going to rewind a little bit. Pure Chakra. Oh my goodness. I've just got to give my little personal testimonial of the album. Now, we actually worked together a little bit when I was running my virtual assistant business, looking at your branding and some of the back office admin type tasks, because like you say, they weren't the kind of thing that really floated your boat. But I was lucky enough to become aware of the album at quite an early stage. And it was at a time for me in my life when my confidence was really quite low and I was trying to start to push out of my comfort zone. And that's not an easy thing to do. But somehow the album was like the soundtrack to my life. I used it in the mornings when I did my morning routine, when I had my sort of quiet time and I was just journaling and doing a bit of yoga stretches and what have you. And it was also something I used when the boys were younger as well. I think we probably talked about it at the time, but that kind of witching hour when children are a little bit younger, before dinner, after sort of school and what have you, to have the music on in the background. It was subliminal. It was subliminally kind of calming everyone. Whether it affected the boys or not didn't really matter to me, because for me it set the tone, and actually it did. And the boys really, really loved it. They knew about Catherine Rannus. They knew about Pure Chakra because it was used a lot, but used is not a nice enough word, because it was like a gift. And it made such a big difference in my life at that time, but also the boys as well. Because I think when someone is struggling with their own mental health, any kind of tools they can use to help them parent better and be calmer and be less stressed is good for me. And I also remember taking it in the car to my first networking event that I ever attended. And I literally sang along to it the whole way and went in and didn't walk out of that networking event before I sat down, because that was what my mind wanted to do. But I just can't really quite describe how very life-changing that album was. So I really hope other people will snap it up for themselves. Wow. Because it's amazing.
Oh, thanks. I'm so glad it resonated with you on that level. That's what it is all about. Yeah. Such
a deep level. It really, really did. So there you go. I will wasn't really a testimonial because that would have been sort of short and, with a little bit more clarity. But I'm just thinking back to that time, and I think it's, it does take me back to a time, and I still listen to it now, and the boys still know exactly that album now, but it did help me through an awful lot. So fast forward to the audio branding. For a start, well done for pivoting at that time, like you say, where the world was just in such an emotional, fearful, harrowed state. It was such a difficult time. And obviously for musicians like yourself, one day you're gigging, the next minute it's all ripped away from you, which must have been hard on so many levels, I believe, not least because a musician is fueling themselves, is really, really living when they're performing, because that is what lights up your heart and your soul, isn't it? Not to mention, the money side of things and just that, what the heck's going on question in your mind. So many people pivoted due to having to in the pandemic, especially at the beginning of the pandemic. But I love that you were able to turn such a challenging situation into a creative one through doing all that networking, like you say, around the world, and then new music coming into your mind as well that you were able to record. I obviously came to you myself. Now, that's something that I think will really help people understand what you're talking about here. I loved what you said about accompanying podcasts, videos, moving logos and what have you. I must admit, in my head, as you're saying it, I'm thinking, I need to speak to this client. I need to speak to that client, because there are so many people that would benefit from that and benefit from it being you as well, because you're not a big faceless organization. You are a very approachable, very intuitive human being. So I guess I want to share that I was one of your clients, and I am just astounded by what you did for me.
Oh.
So for those of you that don't know, Catherine is the amazing voice for the theme of my podcast and all of the, is it idents or indents?
Idents, yeah.
As well. And I went to Catherine back in, I think it was November last year. So we're talking just over a year ago now, because I'd wanted to start a podcast for many years, I think 4 or 5 years. And having looked at my voice recorder just this morning before we came on to speak, I saw that my first version that I wrote of the podcast theme tune started in 2018. So I went through about 5 or 6 options thinking one day I'll have a podcast. Oh, and this could be the music. And I never did anything with them. And it was when I saw Catherine mention that she was starting to do audio branding that I thought, this is my opportunity to do something, because I realized that what was holding me back was confidence and ability. So although I was able to come up with the idea, which actually we found the voice note this morning that I sent you with the idea that you then ran with and arranged and continued to write and then record for me. We're gonna pop that here into the podcast so people can hear my little rough sketch or doodle. I call them musical doodles. Yeah. And then obviously hear what you did with it based on what is surrounding this beautiful podcast. What was lovely was that you're able to write anything from scratch. Someone can come to you with their business and say, right, this is my business. This is my vibe. Here's my website. This is what we do. I want something upbeat, or I want something gentle. And you will go away and write something. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I've done it from as little as 3 keywords. So I might just ask the client, how do you want your audience to feel when they hear this, and they'll just give me 3 keywords and that's it. And then I'll look at their other branding and the colours that they use and their webpage and the language they use and all sorts of other things. And I do put all sorts of secret things in there, like I did the branding for a company called Seventh Wave. So for me, seven chakra, which resonates in the key of B major. So I did it in B major, which they would have never known.
No.
And I based the harmony on a B major 7th chord, 7th. And so there were all sorts of different things in there which were completely secret. That's the inspiration behind it. And everything is frequency and energy. So just for it to resonate at that level, when you don't even know why, it just does. I love doing the little secret things that are hidden in the music. And I tuned to Fibonacci, actually. I've not mentioned that really. So concert pitch is slightly different, and the way our mind and bodies are working and nature, it's all around us, the Fibonacci sequence, if you're familiar with it.
Right.
It's a number sequence, and it creates this spiral which is all around us, inside the ear and everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. And when we listen to music at that resonance, it just sounds better, it feels better. Because music is just sound waves coming at our energy. It's just energy coming at energy.
Yeah.
And when it all resonates together, it raises your own vibration. It raises, like, the law of attraction kicks in. Yeah. And it sends out everything you want to send out to your audience and reflects it back as well. It's just magical.
It really is magical. I kind of feel like I want to have a geeky conversation with you around chords and major sevenths and all sorts of things at some point as well. I definitely get that. The frequency of your music, and going back to Pure Chakra again, it raised my vibration. It really, really did. And I love that you add the kind of undercover bits in the music as well. There is so much depth and thought that goes into everything that you write. So to say that it's personal and, bespoke to a business is an understatement, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, I talk to a lot of business people when I'm doing networking, and I think people look at my business and they go, oh, you could be doing this. Oh, you could be doing this. Oh my God, you could be doing this. This is going to explode. But I don't want it to, because I want to be the guy who does everything. I liaise with the client. I find out what they want, and I get to know everything about them, and I make the music, and then I have the meeting afterwards and do all the post-production and make sure everything's right and do all the editing. And it really is a one-man shop, which is a business idea. People have asked me, what's the end game? As if somehow I want to run a business and step away from it. No, that's not what this is.
No, it's the essence. You are the essence.
It has to be me, yeah.
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 Oh, I love that.
And that's what I want to do. And from a business point, that might make zero sense to anyone in business who actually runs a business as a business probably should be run. But this is what I do, and this is how I like it. And yeah, I don't really want to expand so that I have people doing the stuff that I want to be doing. I want to do it. So it's no good someone else doing the meetings and finding out what the client wants and then telling me. I just may as well do the meeting myself, and really, because you feel something different when you meet that person as well. And it's really important.
I 100% agree with you. It's authentic through and through. And I believe that people buy people, and it just wouldn't work for you to be getting, having a team in the recording studio. You say, right, well, here are the keywords that work. Here's their colors and everything. Go away and do something. But that's just not, what you said makes complete and utter sense. I really, really agree. And I think that makes your business even more endearing. And by the way, it is a very proper business. And we have the right, when we run our own business, to run it exactly how we feel it works and resonates best with us. And yeah, you are a very good example, 20 odd years on, of working for yourself. So a very real business. Just going back to what we did for the How Does She Do It podcast, I really also want to add that you were incredibly patient with me, because I don't have that ability to push myself quickly. I was very judgmental about what I was going to send you. So, oh, what's Catherine going to think? Catherine's an amazing musician. So I held back for a long time. And I remember you just sort of saying, look, just get something over to me and it's better to start from somewhere than to keep putting off. So I really thank you for that. And it was really lovely that I knew you were writing music for other people, but you were open to me writing something that you were then going to further and arrange, and obviously all of the amazing production and what have you as well. And that's another thing to say. I think, the flexibility that you offer is really attractive as well. So thank you for doing that. And
it was a pleasure.
Your voice is blissful, absolutely blissful. So I wanted to ask you about your own health, and I've written here soul nourishing work, if you like, because there are many of us who, take me, for example, my business is not music, but I really love music. It's one of my biggest loves. And it's something I really use to switch off and to, raise my vibration and what have you. For someone like yourself, who is doing music essentially all of the time, do you find that you need to take time to step away from work and music to work on your self-care? Or what is self-care to you, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I've always been into yoga, so I do that. But also, I do transcendental meditation. So that doesn't involve music. That is just in the quiet. It's mantra-based, actually.
Yeah.
So I don't really meditate to music because I listen to the music then.
Yeah.
So as a musician, that I have to step away from the music for things like that. So I do transcendental meditation. I do love what I do, which I know it's such a blessed position to be in, where what I do all day is actually, that's what I want to do all day as well. But I do things to do with music that aren't my job. Like I play in a big band, and that is purely really for fun, because that doesn't pay the bills at all. And we rehearse, and I love rehearsing, and it's challenging. I love a challenge as well. I think that's really important for your brain connections, just to keep yourself on top of your game. Because actually, it'd be quite easy for me. The piano gigs, I could play songs that I've been playing for years, really, and just learn an odd song when I fancied. That'd be dead easy. I could totally do that. I like the challenge. So the big band music, I play piano in the big band, not saxophone, and it's very challenging, ridiculously challenging. And I've been in this big band over 10 years, and it's only now that I feel like I'm playing something that sounds a little bit like what it should.
I'm sure you're being hard on yourself, but that's really interesting. You've just really triggered something for me in a positive way about how we always need to be challenging ourselves to keep those brain connections, I guess, strong and perhaps forever growing. That's really inspired me. Thank you. I'm going to take that away and continue with the things that really challenge me. And it's really interesting, I think, that you do, there are some things that you do away from music or away from the work side of music. What a blessed position to be in, to be doing what you love every day and not get bored of it. I guess it's forever changing, isn't it?
Definitely. Yeah. I'm never bored of it.
I would love to ask you if there is anything that comes up for you when I ask, what is the toughest thing about working for yourself?
Besides deciding what to wear. Oh God, I'm deadly serious as well.
Very important.
I've got a day next week where I'm playing for quite a posh ladies' lunch thing, and then I'm playing for a fair after school, and I'm going straight there. So I need an outfit that's going to cover both things. And then I'm gigging in the evening as well, sax with DJ. So just what am I going to wear?
That's three very different outfits, I should think. Don't get them muddled up.
Well, I could do with one outfit that will do all three gigs, really, something versatile. Probably the hardest thing for me, because I'm constantly working on myself. I know that when I sit down, I can create something. I don't get blocked that often. So as long as I set aside the time to do the work that I know will flow once I set myself up and I'm ready to create, I just need that uninterrupted time, which with 3 children working from home and with the lockdown and, kids being off school with coughs and isolating and all the rest of it, that's been the most challenging thing, because you get interrupted and then you've got to find that space again where you were. So yeah, techniques that will get you back into that space. I need time-saving techniques to do that.
Yeah, because you've got to have that headspace, haven't you? It's not even just about the time, it's about the time and the headspace combined with one another to actually allow you to flow with your writing as you
and the
work.
Constant clock watching, like, I've got to go in an hour. I've only got an hour. Because I run a taxi service for my children as well.
Yes, that's the proper business then. Yeah. Yes.
Why don't I get paid for that?
I know. I hear you. So what's the best thing about working for yourself? Because you've got to like it, because you've been doing it for a long time.
Oh yeah, the flexibility. So like when the children were little, I created Pure Chakra in nap times and at bedtime. So the kids all went to bed. Every other mum's got feet up with a gin and tonic. I'm in the studio creating my life's work.
Committed to your life's work.
Yeah. So like during that time when they were really young, before they started school and things, that was when I was creating Pure Chakra and Pure Piano, and also Night and Day. The 3 albums were done in that time space. And it was so flexible, because I felt like I was getting the best of both worlds. I didn't want to put them into full-time nurseries. Well, I couldn't afford to. I wasn't making money creating the albums at this point. So it worked beautifully for me to be a full-time mum, but then use that time, which I didn't feel like I was overworking or anything like that, because it's nourishing to create. So sometimes the best nourishment is not just to sit and watch telly. Sometimes that's not great nourishment for what we need. So the creativity side of it, which is worth thinking about, because if you feel tired all the time, then that's not working for you. And I think that's what I would have felt. I would probably been a little bit bored, because children, you're not getting the mental stimulation from the children, and your head's constantly chattering. Just to leave the house, you need 10,000 things in your bag just to leave the house. So there's that mental thing. And I think vegging in front of the telly wouldn't have got rid of that for me. So to be creative and really get in the flow, that's what solved that mental chatter for me. So I think finding something that works for you to get rid of that mental chatter that's constant, so you can be totally absorbed in something, which is not always a TV program or a bottle of gin.
Yeah, I really hear that. In fact, I said to my hubby just the other day, we've been teaching ourselves Sarah Bareilles' Love Song. I don't know if you know it, but a very piano piece. And we're not natural pianists, but we spent a few evenings a few months ago just trying to nail that song, and both of us trying the piano part, which it was actually mildly addictive, because it was such a wonderful challenge. It was really hard, and then it started to flow. And you used the word nourishment. It was exactly that. And I said to him just the other day, I said, we need to get back to that. Why aren't we doing that a couple of evenings a week? Because it was so good for us. So good for us. So I love that you were so dedicated to your evenings, but dedicated to yourself, because you knew what you needed. So the flexibility that you've created with your business, I can absolutely see how that works for you.
And mine happens to be music, and I happened to have created something tangible out of my time. But even if it's just something like knitting or sewing or anything else that you can totally absorb yourself in, that it's not your business, that is exactly right.
So as you know, the name of my business is How Does She Do It? Because I believe that she doesn't do it all. I would love you to share with us one thing that you do or perhaps don't do anymore to ensure that you remain on track and healthy and happy.
Yeah, I don't listen to the business gurus anymore. I went through a phase, I was putting out a video every day, you probably remember, on the delightful mindfulness, because I'm really passionate about feeling good, and I want to be surrounded by people who also feel good. So I thought if I posted a little idea that you could run with for that day, and it came from, I had a business coach at the time, and he said, you need to be posting every day. You need to be doing this, you need to be doing this, and then market this, market that, and then, and the sales pitch. But, I thought I'd love to do that, actually. I'd love to carve out that time, make a video, send one out every day, change the lives of the world, heal the world, and everyone's going to be happy. And I did love doing it, actually. I really did, because as well as music, that is my passion, the feel-good factor, and it's so important. And I know that I did help a lot of people in that year I was putting out the business, but eventually, like the business guy said, yeah, look at your sales. Is it working? Nah. It did initially make a few more sales, but then I was preaching to the converted. Everyone who was going to buy Delightful Music had got Delightful Music. I'd only got the 5 albums, so that sort of was a natural end to that. And I enjoyed doing it, but it wasn't something I could sustain forever.
Yeah. So would you say that perhaps with all the business gurus out there telling you to do this, that, and the other, that maybe sometimes you need to just go inside and see what it is that your heart's telling you is right for you? Because I guess there's not a one size fits all approach, is there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I get what he was saying. And to run Delightful as a business, to make money, like I thought, well, I've got this music. I want to make my living from Delightful Music. But nothing we did involved making new music. Everything I did with that business coach was just all about sales, more sales, but which might have, been a brilliant business and paid a load of bills. But I need to make more music. I can't just do sales all day, every day.
That's what you need. You need the music. That's what you need in your life. Thank you so much. Wow. I feel like we've covered loads, and I love that it was so different actually from anything that we've done so far. So thank you so much for sharing everything that you have done today. It's been really, really fascinating for me. And like I say, I'm inspired. I'm going to go away and make some tweaks in my life actually based on stuff you said today. So Thank you. And I know that my listeners are going to adore it as well. Before we close, is there anything you'd like to share? Where can people buy from you, and how can people work with you? Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, well, I've got the 5 albums on a webpage, which is www.delightfulmusic.co.uk. So you can hear samples there and decide which one you like. The Pure Piano album is actually available across all platforms, Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes, everywhere. So that's accessible. There's a lot of children's songs as well on my Spotify and YouTube. If you just search Delightful Music. And the audio branding stuff, I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably where I put most of the audio branding stuff. LinkedIn is just my name. It's Catherine with a C, Rannus, Rannus.
Awesome. And I'll make sure that we pop all of those links in the show notes below as well, so people can definitely go and explore further. Thank you so much for coming today. It's been such an honor to have you. And thank you again for agreeing to work with me on the music for the podcast. I couldn't have been a happier client of yours, and I'm so grateful that I reached out to you.
Oh, it was a pleasure. I loved working that way. I'm privileged to have done that. It's really, really lovely way to work.
Thank you so much for listening today. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, I'd love you to take a moment to share and subscribe too. Come and join me over at How Does She Do It Life on both Facebook and Instagram. And until we speak again, I wish you a wonderful week ahead.